we are going to bring in our friend Steve Wiltfong right now. He is joining us via phone. So excited to have Steve Wiltfong on with us now. Steve, thanks so much for the time this morning. We're excited to have you on. How are you doing in this crazy day and age of kid drop-off and transfer portal?
Hey, good morning, Billy. Doing well, man. This is the time of year to shine. Obviously, roster retention is a big deal around these college football programs right now. We're seeing them announce new deals, which is wild. Obviously, we've never seen schools offer new deals as part of announcing retention and bringing guys back. So it's certainly a new era of college football that continues to evolve and develop. And some of these programs are roster retention while preparing for the college football playoff.
Yeah, it is wild. And one of the teams that is not doing any work for the college football playoff right now is Florida. And they just lost former five-star quarterback DJ Lagway to the transfer portal. This is a fascinating scenario, though, as one team in particular from the ACC has been kind of reported as in contact. Louisville is among the schools that is reaching out, as is Miami here.
Well, DJ Lagway, just kind of talking to his representation during the coaching change, Coach Brom was someone that I think that they would have been very excited about getting the job at Florida because of his offensive acumen and how he's been able to develop quarterbacks that have come to him through the transfer portal, his innovative offensive mind. And so easy to see why Louisville is a program of interest for DJ Lagway right now.
And when you look at a program like Miami and what Miami is looking to do in the portal, what is your sense going into the transfer portal world where they're trying to find the quarterback of their future with Carson Beck on the way out as well?
Well, I think that they have a lot of ammunition to talk to the best quarterbacks in the country in the transfer portal because of the success that they've had through the portal. Cam Ward comes in and ultimately becomes the number one pick in the NFL draft. And Carson Beck is amongst the leaders in a lot of passing categories in the ACC, including quarterback rating, has Miami playing in the college football playoff this weekend. Miami is a place where they invest in that position. And so there's a lot to like if you're a high profile transfer portal quarterback. And I think the Miami roster holistically has gotten more talented every year of the Mario Cristobal era. So whoever takes the captain's chair next year has a chance to be out there with one of Miami's more talented rosters.
And when you look at Mario Cristobal, just a recruiter at heart, let's stop there for just a moment and talk about this top-ranked recruiting class in the ACC. Miami getting it done on the trail once again and landing a class that sits inside the top 10. They landed a 5-star in Jackson Cantwell. Let's go back to that recruitment. What stood out to you about the job Miami did with Jackson Cantwell?
Well, that was a modern recruitment with a flair of old school recruiting. He wanted to play for who he thought was the best offensive line coach in the country. And he thinks it's Coach Mirabal, has always thought that. And the cohesion and chemistry that Coach Mirabal and Coach Cristobal have together, the emphasis on the offensive line, Coach Cristobal's track record of coaching that position, guys like Panay Sewell. He saw the proof in the pudding that Miami can develop offensive linemen at a high level, Francis Maigoa being the latest. Then certainly being able to be competitive in the market of modern recruiting also helped Miami in this recruitment. So it was a combination of both. They beat Georgia, they beat Oregon. For Jackson Cantwell, there were times where Georgia led. Oregon was always a school of interest. But Miami, nobody recruited him harder than Miami. The outreach from Cristobal, Coach Mirabal, those coaches connected with him more than any other coach in the process. So yes, Miami checked all the boxes from a modern recruiting standpoint, but they also built a great relationship with Jackson Cantwell, and he believes it's the program that can get the best out of him as a player.
When you look at schools like Clemson that kind of fell off, you look at Florida State that is trying to claw its way back. Those two end up in the top 4 recruiting classes of the ACC, top 25 hauls for them. Have you seen, when you looked at what Clemson has done, any change in their approach, particularly balancing that high school and transfer portal recruiting now?
Well, when you look at this Clemson class, you see a guy like Naeem Burrows and hope that he can evolve into the type of receivers that Clemson had during the glory years. I mean, Clemson has taken a step back as a football program because they just haven't had the same talent that they had when they were competing for national championships and winning two of them. They boasted the best quarterback in college football on those teams. They were loaded on the defensive line, and their running back and receiver rooms were stocked full of guys that could put the ball in the end zone on one touch. Clemson has very much struggled to land difference makers out on the perimeter and a quarterback that is an absolute game changer. And so you look at this class, they added Naeem Burrows, Connor Salmon's a receiver that can really run. But and you hope that Tate Reynolds is maybe the guy that can evolve into one of those elite quarterbacks on the next level. But you don't see in this class that elite defensive line group that helped catapult Clemson to so many championships in the ACC and put them in playoff contention. And that was always one of their calling cards. And even when they weren't maybe competing for a national title, but they were a program that was going to be in the college football playoff, they were still dominant in the front seven, and that was spearheaded by the defensive line. So we'll see what happens with Clemson. And then Florida State, number 2 class in the ACC, number 14 nationally. I think defensively, this is an exciting class. If you're Florida State, these are some guys that can really help your program get back on track. There's just not going to be a lot of time. They have to win now. So the transfer portal is going to be massive for Florida State. They have to find a difference maker at quarterback. That's certainly where it begins. Everybody knows that. But this is a recruiting class that defensively checks a lot of boxes, got some weapons at the wide receiver position in Jason Lopez and Devin Carter. But Florida State, transfer portal heavy, or I don't see much of a change for them this coming fall.
And I look at the ACC with the quarterback position as we transition a little bit back to that transfer portal era that we're in right now. One guy who is necessarily a Miami target early on. It's weird how we talk about things like this, but a guy like CJ Bailey, who I thought has done a terrific job of doing more with less at NC State. He's a South Florida native, Miami in the market for a quarterback, of course. Is there any buzz building around the retention of CJ Bailey, or, Miami or other programs looking into him?
Well, obviously in this era, CJ Bailey, someone that you're going to mark as a player that could be primed to go into the portal and would bring a lot of excitement around him. Miami's a place that I think will be able to land one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the portal. So it'll be interesting to see who they decide to go on. And Florida State, I want to bring it back to Florida State real quick, Billy. Their football team this year, their offensive line is going to have a lot of turnover at the end of the season, which might be a good thing, but certainly still need to get able-bodied players in there that can play at a high level in the ACC, or the Coach Norvell era comes to an end after this season. Did I lose you, Billy?
They get Herb Hand in there. They get Gus Malzahn in there to be the offensive coordinator. It looked like Tommy Castellanos took steps in the right direction, but just not enough consistency. So they're trying to find that, and it sounds like they're getting some overhauls in the personnel department as well. But one program that did see a lot of overhaul this offseason, Virginia Tech. You're very familiar with James Franklin's work. He's an outstanding football coach, a great recruiter as well. Virginia Tech has seen that pay off in dividends in a big way.
Yeah, when he walked in the door, they had the nation's number 108 or 118th ranked recruiting class, got up to number 27. A lot of these guys were committed to James Franklin and his off-field staff at Penn State. But look, with James Franklin, you're going to get a guy that's going to bring in a culture, a hard-nosed football team that's going to get after you defensively, make a lot of plays behind the line of scrimmage, be physical, be not scared to play against any opponent week in and week out. Offensively, they're going to want to run the ball. And so I think it was a tremendous hire. 12 years at Penn State, several New Year's Six Bowls, a Big Ten championship, a college football playoff Final Four appearance. Those New Year's Six Bowls in today's era, that would equate to college football playoff appearances. I think Penn State would have been a regular in the college football playoff under the current landscape under Coach Franklin. And he's brought a lot of excitement to Virginia Tech, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's reinvigorated. He's excited to be in Blacksburg and ready to show Penn State and the brass there that they made a mistake letting him go midway through his 12th season at Penn State with all the success they had. And he was able to quickly show that the relationships that he has on the recruiting trail translated. Those were guys that had a connection with James Franklin. It's not like Brian Kelly at LSU where the recruits don't know you, or at Notre Dame. And so you take a new job, they follow. These recruits knew James Franklin, knew him for years. So when Terry Wiggins, 4-star linebacker, Messiah Mickens, 4-star running back, they see James Franklin take a job to Virginia Tech, they want to follow him because they connected with him. They trust him. They know his resume, what he's been able to do, the players he's developed in every position room. Quarterback Troy Hune, he was waiting on where James Franklin landed, 4-star quarterback from California. He lands at Virginia Tech, quickly sets up a visit, ends up in the fold for the Hokies. So he's a player's coach, looks out for his players, demands a lot from them on the football field. And it's been a long time since Virginia Tech's been relevant, but they're going to head into the season looking to have a quick turnaround. It'll be exciting to see what they do in the transfer portal, and it won't be long before they're one of the class teams in the ACC.
You hear a lot about investment and spending these days. Virginia Tech getting into the mix right away for another highly touted quarterback, a top 100 prospect in Peter Bork. You had a report on 3 and Rivals.com. Make sure you guys pick up a subscription for just $1 to see what Steve Wiltfong and others are reporting out there. But Peter Bork is an interesting name that has been committed to Michigan. He's a well-known name nationally. Is there any little tidbits you can share to get the people going out there about how Virginia Tech is doing recruiting him?
Well, Penn State was the runner-up for Peter during his process, and he's got great relationships with James Franklin, Coach Danny O'Brien, the quarterback's coach there. And with the uncertainty around the Michigan program right now, it has opened the door, sort of given Peter a hall pass to look around and see what else is out there. Matt Campbell and the new Penn State staff has also extended a scholarship, and they have a quarterback track record on the next level. But James Franklin, what he's done holistically, Peter and his family are very aware and know that coaching staff well. And that offer from Virginia Tech, I think, will be an interesting one to monitor moving forward.
When you look at the ACC, are there any schools in particular that really caught your eye this recruiting cycle? Obviously, the finish from Virginia Tech was outstanding, and what they were able to put together with James Franklin. But this is a league that needs to level up a little bit on the recruiting trail. You're seeing the investment from Virginia Tech. Clemson's always among the top. Miami, we know. Other programs, but are there any in particular that maybe caught your eye?
Well, SMU had a top 25 recruiting class, heavy around the point of attack on both sides of the football. I think that's a class that will obviously keep them in contention for the ACC for a long time. In North Carolina, 40 high school players put pen to paper in favor of the Tar Heels. And as they look to rebuild this program in Chapel Hill under Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick, I think that they are taking the long game approach, and they're invested in building this program right, grassroots through the prep levels, and supplementing their roster through the transfer portal. That's the recipe to win at a high level, good high school foundational recruiting, and then use the transfer portal to upgrade a position room or add a difference maker. 40 high school players signed with North Carolina in the 2026 class, a class that finished number 18 nationally.
It is always interesting to follow the recruiting world through your eyes, Steve. And one last thing, just tell people, what's your day like, when you're going through it right now in this crazy time of year, and we'll get you out of here before we take any more time up.
Look, no different than others. We, wake up, punch the clock, work the phone line, shake some trees. Connections reach out to you, you reach out, put some feelers out there, and next thing you know, the day is over. And sometimes we work evenings in this business.
Awesome. Steve, thanks so much for the time. We really appreciate it, and can't wait to catch up again next time.
Yeah, take care. Happy holidays, everyone.
All right, there you go. Steve Wiltfong, one of the legends in this business. We really appreciate his time in this busy season. Like you said, happy holidays. And in the holiday spirit, let's talk about one of our supporters. The La La Land Foundation is one of the most incredible groups that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. And the La La Land Foundation is built on kindness. It is a movement that is an extension of the La La Land Kind Cafe, which you should go to La La Land Cafe.com to find your local La La Land cafe, La La Land Kind Cafe.com, and find your local La La Land to learn more about what it's all about. When you walk in a La La Land Kind Cafe, you feel the kindness, you feel that it's genuine, and it starts at the top, everybody involved, and it has now taken form in this foundation. And we encourage you, as you get closer to moving into 2026, to find ways to get involved with the La La Land Foundation, whether it's monetary donations, whether it be in kind, whether it be through events or mentorship. This is a foundation based on helping young adults really move into true adulthood as they transition out of some tough situations, the foster care system, certain things like that. And it is astounding to watch these young people turn into real life adults. Like Steve said, we punch the clock, we do all these things. But the La La Land Foundation is also about helping them turn into really just people, and how you operate on a day-to-day basis, things that most people take for granted as far as knowing what to do or social settings and things like that. The La La Land Foundation helps make the world a better place, and it starts with the kindness that it shares with everyone that it comes in contact with. So thrilled to be a part of the La La Land Foundation's work. And if you're also looking to support from a corporate level, they're looking for that as well as they continue to expand. If you want to go and find out different ways to get involved, there's a tab on their website, and you can do that. You can donate in kind. You can do the corporate sponsorship route. You can volunteer. So this holiday season, think about how to get your 2026 off to a fresh start as far as what you're involved with, the people you surround yourself with, and consider the La La Land Foundation. It's an outstanding way to support young people and make the world truly a better place with our friends at the La La Land Foundation. So we appreciate their support of All Access AM.